Well, hello, internet friends near and far. Welcome to another episode of Podcast 99, which is part of the It's a Sure Thing podcast network thing that we're doing series where myself, Jason, and my friend Jeremy, we're walking through all of the Michael Schur television shows. And so we're in the Podcast 99 era. Brooklyn 99. Jeremy, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. It's a beautiful snowy day in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And by snowy, I mean it snowed yesterday and now it's just here.
Yeah. In life, everything's shut down. That's not true.
The school happened.
School happened.
Yeah. I went out last night to an open mic that is 10 minutes away from my house. And I was leaving my house and it was icy and cold at like
Hmm.
7:30. I got to this 10-minute away and it was going south, so it's warmer. And there was no snow on the ground whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
This place is weird.
Yeah.
This region is bananas. So, do you have snow at your house?
We have a banana belt over across the water. Port Angeles, the rain shadow.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Squim. Yeah. For all
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
For all the folks who aren't in the Pacific Northwest, you're like, I want to hear more about this squim. It's spelled Sequuim.
Right.
Sequum.
And it
We
rains
call it
less there
squim.
than anywhere else.
Yeah, it's the driest place in the Pacific Northwest. It's also one of John Wayne's favorite places on earth.
Yeah.
It was. He's dead.
Oh,
Uh,
Squim's still there.
Squim's still there. Yeah. Too soon? John Wayne's death. Jeremy, what are we talking about today? What episode are we talking about?
Episode 2, the Tagger.
The Tagger.
The Tagger.
What's your first impression on this episode as we are jumping in? Like,
The
still
kid's
getting
got such a punchable face. That's the first thing I thought. I know it's terrible to
okay.
say.
Yeah.
I would never. But it's they picked a great. They cast the kid perfectly. And who is the dad? Who is the
The
actor that?
actor.
Yeah, he is very familiar looking. I should know. I should have been prepared. Now look at you looking for your keyboard. Yeah,
Well,
Podansky,
Podolsky.
Podolsky.
Yeah. He seems like he would be the guy who would play a disgruntled principal
Hmm.
in a high school drama of some sort. Um, and I bet if I look at his IMDb page, he probably has that role. It's
It's
all,
just all principal rules.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we need a principal. I know just the guy. And as soon as I find the episode list on Brooklyn Nine-Nine on IMDb, I will be able to tell you who that guy is.
Hmm.
Because IMDb is everybody's favorite argument solver. Uh, who was the guy in that thing? IMDb. Look it up. All right, come on, internet, load faster.
It's always
This
a
is,
fun thing. Anytime you're talking to someone about like, oh, I think it's this person, or no, so and so played it, and then they just get their phone out without saying anything. Like,
you
oh,
know exactly what's happening.
you don't believe me.
The actor's name is James M. Connor.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I just told you. He's
No,
James
oh,
M. Connor. He was born on June 16th, 1960 in Omaha, Nebraska, USA. He is an actor and writer known for, check this out, Vice Principals 2016.
that's a really funny show. Nailed it.
Is it?
Nailed it.
Is it? I've never seen
Yeah,
it.
I mean it's inappropriate. It's Danny McBride and Walter Goggins.
Okay.
It's very funny, very, very adult, inappropriate, language and stuff, but it's a really funny show.
Does he play a principal in
Um,
it?
I don't remember him. He's not a main guy that I
Oh,
remember.
his character name is Seychelles, according to IMDb. Anyway, I love
Does not ring a
IMDb,
bell.
and it is a
Yeah, it's
real
great.
problem.
It's a rabbit hole for sure. So
Okay.
yeah, no, I mean basically this episode is just more world building. Honestly, that's what it felt like. We're just getting to know the characters more, Jake's ridiculousness and
Mhm.
Holt's fastidiousness, and just yeah, that's how it feels. I didn't know that Holt started the Terry loves yogurt. I thought Terry said Terry loves yogurt
Oh,
first,
yeah.
and Holt says it. So
Right.
that was one of the first things that kind of popped out. I was like, all right, sweet. So
That is funny. I didn't notice that either. That was the first. But yeah, you're right. Terry loves yogurt.
Terry does love yogurt. How are you? Where are you on the yogurt? Are you a yogurt guy?
Me?
Yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate a good yogurt.
you abide. Okay.
Yeah, the yogurt abides. The best yogurt I've ever had
Mhm.
was I remember it vividly. I was on the coast of the Black Sea in northern Turkey. It
Just a
was
picture, please.
it was in a Hilton hotel, and they had like the best breakfast minus bacon because they don't serve bacon in Muslim majority countries.
Hmm.
I don't know why. But yeah, I was eating yogurt and looking out onto the Black Sea. It was a nice like autumn, like rainy kind of day, and the yogurt was just amazing. I was like, this yogurt is blowing my mind right now, but
Now their yogurt style is like you get like a
really
plain,
thick.
really thick, but then you
Yeah,
put like their stuff out, right?
yeah, yeah.
Honey and fruit and
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
It's basically like a like a frozen yogurt, like a Menchie's type thing, but
Yes,
not
please.
frozen.
Yeah.
But they also have like hard boiled eggs and olives and stuff. And that got weird when you started. No, I didn't put that in my yogurt. But yeah, it was so good. The second best was actually in Istanbul. So still Turkey. But yeah.
They know how
Mm,
to do yogurt. What
there.
did you think of this episode?
I think this episode is great. I think we got two plots really, and so we get a good picture of how people work together. They're still trying to figure out Rosa. I felt like,
Yeah.
but I do think that this is uh, as the show progresses, we see like a um, tension between Peralta and Holt, but then we also see like Holt's got Peralta's back,
Right.
which I think is really important because we don't want like I don't want all the my favorite characters on a TV show to just constantly be in conflict,
Right.
you know. And so like having these two who are in it's a workplace comedy and a superior officer and a detective, they can be fighting all the time, but I want them to be on the same team.
Right.
And so this episode does end with them on the same team and Holt standing up to protect Peralta's career. So yeah, all
And
in
I,
the second episode.
yeah, and I think and you make a good point there because I feel like the difference between say something like Holt and Wunsch
Mhm.
is like they will never really like each other.
Right,
Versus like Holt's just trying to be a captain and hold everyone to a higher standard, and Jake is learning, but he hasn't just like like wholesale uh quit on him or just be like you're worthless, I'm giving up on you, and I'm going to make your life
right.
miserable. Like he knows Jake's good. He's like I can save him. No, I don't know if that's really you
No,
know.
he sees it that he sees it a good detective,
Mhm.
like in the first episode, and the second episode he also like does good detective work.
Right,
And so he's just trying to like direct him, right? Which is as somebody who you work with people who have a lot of potential. Like the hard thing is when they're all potential and no real effort, you just like you would be so much better if you just tried.
yeah,
And I'm
just
not
do a thing.
talking to anybody on this call. No, I'm just joking.
Wow,
But there's people who just are naturally good at things, and it's
got a
like
microphone today.
if you just took a moment to actually try to be great, you could. And so that's part of what I think Holt sees in Peralta as a character is like you could be awesome, and I want to help you do that,
Yeah,
which is cool. I like that. So, but talking about Wunsch, who we haven't met yet, like the reason Wunsch works is because she's not in every episode.
right,
Like if every episode was just Wunsch being uh Holt's nemesis, it would get
right.
old really fast.
And the fact that you don't quite know why. Like, I mean, it's this underlying, like this deep-seated hatred for each
Right.
other, which is so and Holt. Yeah, anyway, we'll get into that down the road, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a great character and great reveal for like why they're this way over time. It's so good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the writing of this show, it's so good. So yeah, so we have two main plot lines. We have Holt and Ray, or Ray is Holt. Holt and Jake trying to investigate this person who's vandalizing police vehicles. And then we have Amy and Rosa and Charles working on a drug case, but there's also a psychic involved. Um, it's so great. Um, and then yeah, so those are the main plot lines that we're going to follow today. And again, I feel like having three detectives work on a like looking at a perpetrator's apartment looking for drugs. I feel like three is a lot. Now, I'm not a cop, I'm not a detective, but I don't think they need three.
It's
So,
kind of it's like the media empire in Pawnee.
exactly.
Like how many
Yeah.
how many news outlets do we need here?
Yeah. I was talking to my wife yesterday about our frustration with the media, my frustration anyway, with the media outlets in Pawnee last night because I have um, somebody who is working on the Linwood Today blog wants to do an interview with me about um, doing open mic comedy and being a pastor. And she's like, that's so exciting. And I was like, is it? I don't know. But
Welcome to
it's like,
Linwood today. How do we? Is it a show? Is it what is
no,
this?
it's
Is
a
a blog?
blog. It's just a blog. And she's like, Kathy's like, is this going to be printed anywhere? I was like, just on the internet. I don't know.
Hey,
Uh,
internet is forever,
it is forever until they forget to pay the server or whatever. But
right?
yeah, so it's like, yeah, the media empire. I think this may be part of Scher's program, like ethos, is like just overwhelm the place in some way. So
Right?
it could be way too many media people. It could be way too many detectives. I don't know. So, but
Or frozen yogurt, like in The Good Place.
yeah, oh man, it's all coming back around.
See? Yeah,
It's all coming
so much
back
frozen
around.
yogurt.
Yeah. It's just that show's so funny. It's like take something great and make it just a little less great.
So close.
Yeah. So this episode, it starts with a cold open where Peralta's coming in late and Holt is standing there by his desk to point out that he's late. And Holt's like, hey, I had a plumbing problem. And the plumbing problem was his alarm went off on his phone and he threw his phone in the toilet. So have you
Did
ever
you
had
did
to call out sick with some kind of like what it was I was lazy, but I had a good I had a plumbing problem type solution or answer.
no, no,
No.
no. I just don't show up. That's
Okay.
my solution.
That's your plan. Just avoidance.
Yeah.
My brother called in sick one time and I was like, you're not sick. He's like, yeah, I got an eye problem. I can't see myself going to work. I'm like, that's the best. I don't know if you actually told your boss that, but that's a really great line. But you were going to say something and I cut you off.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I was really into your story.
All right. Sorry, listener. My voice is a little froggy today. So, um, all right. So then Holt starts interrogating Jake. He's like, you're going to call me out in front of everybody. He's like, yes, everybody gather around so I can call Jake out in front of you. And so he's
For the
talking
second
about,
time in 2 episodes.
right. Yeah. I mean, Holt is great at the everybody come to this meeting, Michael Scott system of leadership. Come to the meeting now. So, um, but yeah, so he was late. We are told that he did not file his Christov murder uh, evidence correctly, and Terry caught it, and that's the only reason that case is going on. And then he holds up two pictures. One is your locker. One is a picture of a dump in the Philippines. Can you tell which is which? And Jake picks one. He's like, they're both your locker. Uh, and then um, the filing undies, comma dirty,
Hmm.
so he doesn't get confused with undies, comma clean, which is good.
That's smart. He has a
Um,
system.
yeah, I mean, I'm all about file systems,
Hmm.
right? I mean, I've shared documents with you for work, and I don't know if you've noticed my file naming system convention is year, month, day, almost all the time.
Yeah.
Because you start with the biggest thing, and then the next biggest thing, and then
Right.
the right. It's so much easier to find stuff. So if you know, like in 2024, you're going to be doing these different projects, just date them. Just date them. It'll make your life so much easier.
Isn't the European order too?
I don't really pay attention to the European order of anything
Yeah.
because I read enough of the Left Behind books to just ignore Europe. I just know like bad things are coming from the Carpathia region. So,
Yeah.
yeah. What's your file name system?
Name of file,
Hmm.
final question
Hmm.
mark, maybe
Okay,
version 3
perfect. The final
underscore.
maybe version 3. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that.
because I never know what changes are going to happen.
Right. No, it's good. That's good
Yeah.
to have have a system. One of my former coworkers, her system was save everything on your desktop.
Hmm. Hmm.
And every time I would see her computer, I would like feel like I was about to have a stroke. Just kind of, how do you find anything on here? And she's like, I just know where it is. Like, no, you don't. You don't. Anyway,
I teach at a college as well, and it's visual arts. And I had a student who had bought a thumb drive, a brand new thumb drive. And this is how long I've been doing this, but it was a 16 gig thumb drive, which is not very much. But back
no.
then it was huge. It was like $100 at the time. Anyway,
Right.
and she came back. It was about halfway through the quarter, and she goes, "My thumb drive is full." And I was like, "Well, what are you making? Like those are some huge files." And she showed me, and what she was doing was she was taking the entire folder off of her thumb drive and putting it onto the desktop, which just makes a copy of it.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
she would put that folder back into the folder. And then
Oh
every time
no.
she took the folder, she's incepting her folders with all of everything. So after about 3 iterations, her thumb drive was full. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Wow.
good times.
Oh, that is so stressful. It's like, well, which one do you want? Because if you
You
pull
have all of
down
them.
to at the base level of this inception, like Leo DiCaprio is going to die in the dream. So you
Yeah.
got to watch out. Uh, yeah.
Anyway, file
Anyway, and
systems,
then
people, they're important.
they're important. And then Holt also points out that Jake has more mice living in his desk than any other detective. And he opens the drawer. And there's a mouse in there. And Jake's like, Algernon, Algernon's back. Now, Jeremy,
Yeah.
do you know the significance of the name Algernon?
It is a mouse,
Yes.
right?
There's a
From a book
yes.
called Flowers for Algernon
Yes. And
about,
yeah, keep going.
yeah, it's about a science experiment where a guy's like trying to make somebody smarter,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So
That's
yeah.
all. I just didn't
Oh,
know if like people knew this about Algernon.
there's a this is kind of a weird, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, but there's a really funny, it's always Sunny in Philadelphia episode called Flowers for Charlie, which is one of the characters where he
Okay.
gets super smart
Okay.
and it's just really ridiculous. But the coincidence is that the psychic, played by Artemis, she's in Sunny as well, and she's absolutely hilarious.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, there you go, little
Oh,
crossover.
funny.
But I guess, why do you think he named him Algernon then? Just because he was just like random, like he could have named him Fievel or
Or Stewart.
yeah, or Mickey. I mean, anything.
You could have named
Uh,
it anything, but I bet it's probably because there isn't a IP associated with Algernon. Like you can't if you name it Fievel or Stewart or Mickey, you're gonna get somebody's attention.
I,
But this
I,
book from the 1960s, nobody's like, wait a second, we know
I,
about that Algernon nonsense.
I like to think that Jake, even though he knows better, feels like if I keep this mouse in this desk long enough, it'll understand how it'll get smarter and actually help me with my paperwork.
Maybe, yeah.
Like that's
Or
because that's
he,
that's like, why'd you name him that? Because it's a mouse that gets smarter
yeah,
through. Yeah,
it's a possibility. Or it's like he will eat my garbage.
that's good.
Maybe so. It could be either way.
Yeah, or maybe the garbage is a bonus. Algernon is a complex character. I just think that I don't know how much time has been devoted to.
Yeah,
He never really comes back, so that's kind of a bummer.
yeah. Well, because he's told to get rid of him right away.
Yeah,
Get rid of the mouse.
he's
So
grumpy. He's grumpy.
he's a grumpy guy. So then it cuts to credits, which is the theme song that we know and love. Do, 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 do. And then it comes back. So then we start in the briefing room. And I love this technique for introducing us, the plot lines to us,
Mhm.
because they have a natural way for these people to go about doing their work for that day by just doing the briefing room and saying, like, these are the cases we're dealing with. Go.
Your plots have been assigned to you.
Yeah, and I just like that's a good use of this part of police work is using the briefing room to just be the place where we got 2 or 3 plots every episode. watcher, viewer of the show, this is what you can expect to happen for the next 22 minutes.
Right.
So I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. I even wrote it down. Framing of plot lines right there. So
That's good.
I take notes. Anyway, not to brag. So the first one is the tagger on squad cars. The other one is the drug dealer plot line. And so it's going to be Jake with the tagger, and Holt jumps in as like a babysitter. And the drug dealer plot line is Rosa and Amy and Charles. Again,
Dream
too many
team.
detectives. Too many detectives. Um, so the vandalism case, somebody has been tagging police cars with genitalia. They've been spray painting wieners on squad cars, which is so funny
That's
because the rest of the episode, every time you see one of these vandalized squad cars, it's blurred out. So
there's a show there's a show on Netflix called, again, very adult, American Vandal.
okay,
Did you ever is it's absolutely hilarious. It's basically a mockumentary about
okay,
a school that is getting vandalized by genitalia related
okay.
vandalism.
Wow, that's
And
the whole
but
series. Is that
yeah, oh no, the first series, the whole all the episodes are based on like who did it, why, and it's a whole mockumentary. It's fantastic.
that's funny?
American Vandal. Anyway,
All right, I'll have to put it to the queue. Um, yeah. So Jake and they're talking about this, and Hitchcock is like, "Oh, that's what he's been drawing. What are those little round things at the bottom?"
oh, that's the butt.
And everybody's just like, "What? How do you not know this?" So,
It's a rocket ship.
uh, yeah. So Jake is going to do that, and instead of using a squad car, Terry volunteers to use the minivan, and everybody laughs that he has a minivan, but he's all about safety, and SUVs roll, man. They
They
roll.
roll.
And so then the drug case is there's some cocaine that 12 kilos of coke that are unaccounted for at this drug bust. So they have to go look at the apartment. And
Mhm.
so yeah, so it cuts to Charles and Rosa and Amy getting ready to go, and Gina brings her friend who is a psychic who also sells shoes and does palms tarot, and she has a degree in numerology from the internet. Um, and
The
so
internet. She's
she,
so proud of the internet part
yeah, I have
from
a
the
degree
internet.
in numerology from the internet. Uh, but yeah,
Okay,
they're like
Charlene.
writing her off. Rose is like, no, we don't need a psychic. But then Gina's like, she told me I was going to have a sensuous encounter with a guy named Mark. And I did. So then cut to the flashback of her at the bar, totally wasted. Anyone here named Mark? So, yeah. So the psychic came true. Um, and then uh, she also talks about how she had visions that science cannot account for, like amazing deals at ladies' footwear. So yeah. So she has these visions, and I love how she announces the visions. Vision! The drugs are in a location, colored blue, and then she lists all these letters. And he was like, "Oh, basically everybody's first aid guess is in Hangman." All right, so they write her off, but they're going to go to the apartment to look for the drugs, right? So Jake it talks to Terry. He's like, "Why is he come? Why is Holt coming? I made a mixtape with a very explicit rap, and now I can't listen to it. Now I can't sing along." And so Terry's like hung up on the mixtape part of it. But Jake is really frustrated that he's being babysat, and he's like, "I like when McKinley was here. Let me do anything." And then a flashback to Jake tasing a watermelon to see what
Cantaloupe.
happens. Was it a cantaloupe?
Yeah. Is
Oh, a melon of some sort.
that what it
Um,
says?
no, I just
Oh,
didn't. Yeah, I thought it was a watermelon, but it is a cantaloupe.
details.
Um,
I mean, just in case.
yeah, thank
Could
you.
be a trivia question somewhere.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, go ahead.
Uh,
McKinley.
and McKinley's like, "What's happening out here?" And he tells him,
McGinley.
he's like, "Ah, oh, okay." So yeah, the world's changing here. So He's frustrated, but Terry's just like, you got to get with it, man, and get an iPod. And so then Charles talks to Gina or to the Carlene. He's like, look, I'm sorry, my coworkers, they don't really, see your potential here, but my grandma also had the second sight. She's like, I'm going to die. Like he's at flashback to the hospital. I'm going to die. And he's like, she did 2 years later. So and then Carlene says she has a vision. And it's like the girl that you love with the black hair, the scary one, she will never love you.
Oh,
And Charles is kind of dejected by that. But Gina like say thank you. Thank you. So then cut to Jake and Peralta. Peralta's or not Peralta. Holt. I'm getting used to all the new last names.
it's
Holt
okay.
is in the van. Jake is late because he was putting together his outfit for his undercover work.
And this is one of
And
my favorite beginning of one of my favorite tropes in the, or gags in the series is just the different backgrounds for the undercover characters.
right, yeah. And so who's this guy?
This is a Harvey Norgenblum, a CPA, recently divorced, father of two with a dark secret. Hold on, it got cut off. Oh, and then he asked, "What's his cover?"
Angry Captain. So Holt is not really playing along. But right now, I mean, we're just getting to know Holt and
Uh-huh.
knowing where the show goes. And when Holt does start actually playing along, like I love
Hmm.
it so much. Like
Yeah,
Velvet Thunder, like it's gonna be so good.
but Jason,
Um,
he's in khaki cargo shorts,
mhm,
sandals, like strap-on sandals, and a blue polo that's buttoned up to the top with a blue members only jacket, and his
right.
hair is parted in the middle
Yes.
slightly. So he's very Astro Van Dad
Right.
out. I mean, he's just the only thing that could have made him better is if he were wearing Nike Monarchs, like instead of the sandals. But he is the sandals define him. So I'm not
It's
gonna
his whole character.
this whole character.
Yeah. And Holt is like, isn't that going to kind of the sandals aren't they going to kind of mess with your efforts to try to catch the perp if we have to chase him? And he's like, that's Harvey's problem.
And this is one of the cases that where I feel like Holt gets is so upset with Jake and doesn't understand him. Where it's like if you spent as much time actually doing your work as you do coming up with just ridiculous, like this doesn't matter. It obviously doesn't matter, but he's put so much time and effort into this character, and he knows that yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Holt is trying to help Jake solve the puzzle of how to grow up,
right,
which is really what this whole show is about.
pretty much,
Is Jake trying to learn how to grow up. And so uh Holt says, like, unless you like get everything done perfectly, I'm gonna keep babysitting you.
right.
And Jake's counteroffer is, what if I give you $50 and you just let me do whatever I want? uh which is like you're bribing a police officer like who's also your boss. This can't go well. So but I mean, Jake is also as they're doing this, he's like, quick update on the tiger situation. He's currently spray painting the side of our van right now. And so they go and they run out and they catch the guy. Jake loses his sandal.
Hmm.
And yeah, so they arrest him. So Jake has to write his report perfectly, has to do everything perfectly if he wants to get Jake or Holt off his case. And so they're back in the office and he's like, hey, Captain, one more time. What about that $50? But instead of 50, I do 40. And that still stands. And Holt is not responding to it. And he's like, okay, how about 30? Because that's what I actually have. And so yeah, so Holt is like, he's like, I'm just gonna work. Jake says, I'm just gonna work on my project. I'm gonna get it done. My report is gonna be great. And Holt's like, good. I'm anxious to read it. And then Jake's like, I'm anxious to restore my status as a lone wolf. And he howls in the bullpen there, and Holt's just staring at him. The Andre Brower stare of like, everything you're doing is wasting my life. Are you done? Anything else? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna do one more. It does it again. Um, so then Jake is like, Terry, where's the glitter? I want to make this report really great.
Yeah.
And Terry is just like, man, it was nice working with you. Just do the thing. And so and then Jake also tells them, oh, also, please don't, you should know the tagger drew a penis on your minivan. Please don't chase after me. And so then Terry stands up like, what? There's a penis on my minivan? So cut to Boyle and Diaz and Santiago at the apartment, and they're looking for the drugs. And Amy points out how nice the apartment is, and it's like,
Hmm.
why do the criminals always have the nicest apartments? And Rosa is like, they don't teach you at the academy. It's better to be a criminal. So, and Charles is looking around. He's like, oh no, the cabinets are blue because the psychic said that they would find the the drugs in a location and the color blue and yellow,
Hmm.
and so the cabinets are blue, and so he's freaking out. And then the uh Amy is like, why is this such a big deal? I just repainted it. And like Charles, like, no, the psychic predicted they would be something in blue. And then it's like she gave me some very troubling news about Rosa never loving her and all that. And so we get these flashbacks to that moment in slow motion. And Amy like is in the bathroom and she opens up or the bathroom,
Hmm.
and she opens up the baseboard and she finds drugs in the baseboard, and Charles runs over. What color is the baseboard? And the it's green, or the hamper's green, and so she's like, "Oh, good, the psychic's wrong."
And if the
And
psychic's wrong about that, then she's wrong about everything.
yeah, which is all that Charles really wants is the psychic to
Hmm.
be wrong. Um, so cut back to the station, and Jake is writing up his report, and the tagger is right there, the tagger with a very punchable face. And he asks Gina for help by looking up the moon cycle and the humidity, and Gina's like, no. And I love how the script here is talking about this person, the perp privileged kid. Um, so yeah, so his name is like, my name is Banana Fartman MD. Is like, and Jake's like, I don't believe you.
Wait, what?
Uh, and it's like, well, how old are you? He's like, I'm 610. I'm a Highlander. And Jake's like, is that what you want? They'll put you in jail and they'll cut off your head.
Yeah, because they will try you as an adult Highlander.
Yeah. um, Sorry, I'm writing down a title name, Adult Highlander. The original name that I wrote down was Aldrin Nonsense, but then I think
Oh,
Adult
that's
Highlander might be better.
pretty good.
Um, so yeah, so they're trying to figure this whole thing out. He's just keep working on this report, and then Charles goes back and he's like, "Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Gina, but the hamper was green." And and the and Gina's response is, "She's never wrong." Because remember, she said, "Well, Charles like she never said the letter H." It's like, well, she did say the letters L and B, and what else is a hamper called? Lady,
Ben?
lady bin. Like no laundry basket. And Yeah, so now Charles is sad again because yellow and blue makes green, and
Yeah.
lady bin also laundry basket. It's all coming back together.
Shoot.
um so so then cut back over to Terry. He's on the phone telling his wife that somebody painted a giant penis on their minivan, and he's like, no, you cannot have an SUV. Those things roll, baby. They roll. So then Jake is working his report. He's like, hey, your prints were in the system, and I know that your name is Trevor Podolsky. And he's like, oh, that sounds familiar. Oh, it's the deputy chief's kid, deputy commissioner Podolsky. And Jake realizes that, oh, this is not just some kid. This is somebody who has power over me. And so Trevor's like, oh, so does that mean your career's in my hands? So, yeah, kids these days,
Seriously.
privileged kids. What are you gonna do?
Send him to Duke.
Yeah, which is what hopefully this happens to Trevor. But now that he's got this criminal record, we then cut over to Gina, Amy, Rosa, and Charles, and they're working processing the evidence. And Amy's like 2.2 kilos. I feel like we could round up to 21. And Gina's suggestion is they take that extra point two and sell it to their friends. She's selling this to police in a police station. So it's like, oh, okay. Um, So yeah, so they start working the case. And Charles is like, Rosa said, "What are you doing tonight?" And Charles like, "Nothing. What about you? What are you doing?" And she's doing nothing. And Gina is reminding Charles, Carly, like what Carlene said. And he's like, "Well, I hope you find something to do. I'm gonna pee. That's what I'm gonna do tonight." So yeah,
Nope, nope.
he's having a hard time. So Holt tells Jake about Trevor, and he's like, "What are we gonna do?" And Jake's like, "We gotta let him walk, right?" And Holt's like, "Well, he defaced 9 police vehicles, caught him red-handed. Why would you let him walk?" And I mean, this is a hard decision because he's like this could definitely hurt his Jake's career. And yeah, so and he's like, "But Captain, I did work on this report. I do want you to read it. It's perfect. It's 25 pages of meticulous research, diagrams, and map, and I have an about the author on the back." Which
Which he
is
took the time to take a picture of himself in a mock turtleneck,
right.
going like
Authoring.
authoring. Yeah,
Yeah,
with
like
the
he's total author pose.
John Grisham.
Man, I was recently trying to clear out some books that I may have duplicates of, or I know I'll never read again. And there are some really amazing author photos in some of
Okay,
these books, just like a lot of that. But then also pictures like Tom Clancy.
yeah,
Uh,
with his leather jacket.
oh, not even that. Let me just a second.
Like, hold on, let me. Yeah, just go there, hit your Tom Clancy shelf there, and that is what is that? Is that like yeah? So
Look
he's
at
a
this.
flight. So for those of you who can't see, it's Tom Clancy. I think in the desert, and he's wearing his flight jacket,
He's wearing a bomber
aviators,
jacket
bomber
and
jacket.
flight suits. Now, Tom Clancy, before he wrote Hunt for Red October, was an
Mhm.
insurance salesman.
Right. Mission accomplished.
This is what we call stolen valor. So, anyway, but this book is really good. Rainbow Six is good.
Yeah, it's a good video game too.
Yes. Yes. I'm
Old
sorry.
school, old school FPS.
There's another one.
Yep, there he is. Oh yeah. I like when people put their one leg up on something like they're really holding it down. Like, hold it down, man. That's what I'm doing here.
If I wasn't putting my foot on this driftwood would just drift away.
Drift. Yeah,
Now it's just
that's
wood. Anyway,
Beechwood.
anyway. So that was a diversion. I'm sorry.
No, it's worth it. It's what I'm here for.
What is it? Yeah. So what's his face? Holt says, "Jake, you're the arresting officer. You're gonna have to make the call on this." And so Jake is having a hard time, and he gets his crew together to ask them um in the
What should I
briefing
do?
room. Litter is like, "What should I do?" And he's like, "I don't want to end up as a rest of my year as a detective 3rd grade, which is literally pathetic. No offense, Hitchcock." Hitchcock's like, "None taken."
Yeah, no, taking.
And so he's like, option one, I arrest him and I'll lose everything. Option two, I let him walk and I spend the rest of my life with Holt as my babysitter. And then he gets on this fantasy of having a babysitter who always has pizza money and lets him stay up real late.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How old are you in this scenario?" Um, so yeah, so Jake's like, all Holt really cares about is whether I do my job right, and then whether I have a job at all. So I'm taking suggestions. And so Amy says, "Piss off Holt because I'd like to watch your career end." And Jake's like, "All right, thanks. That's helpful." And so he's making tally on the board. And then he's like, "Also, Amy, I'm going to put your phone number on every urinal in Rikers, which is a prison in New York." Uh, and Rosa says, "Don't arrest him. Just smack him hard with a phone book on a body part no one can see. You know what I'm saying." And this is where we start getting like where Rosa's going to end up. I feel like
Hmm.
this line right here is like this is who Rosa is. Like, don't leave any visible bruising on your suspect. So it's like, "You're suggesting police brutality?" Yeah, I guess so.
Why?
Then he asks a Scully, and he's like, "Hey, Scully, you want this collar? The paperwork's all done. It's perfect." And he's like, "The Podolsky kid? No, no. I just gave him my lunch."
Which is a big deal for them because they're all about the food.
Yeah. But they also know, like, if this kid is in their holding room
Oh yeah.
and like he complains to his dad, it's like, "Oh, I don't want to be in Podolski's bad graces. And so it's like, here, kid, you want my lunch? So it's just a butt saving move on Scully's part. So, and then he asks Charles, and Charles like, I don't know, the universe is cruel and vexing puzzle. I'm at the whim of the cosmos. And so the Jake's like, all right, I'm gonna mark you down for bummer.
Just hang out over here by
So
yourself.
uh so yeah. So then Gina is like, hey, there's a guy here. He's a very elderly, sexy, angry official, Deputy Commissioner Podolsky. He's asking for you. Again, very angry, elderly, sexy, furious. So Jake goes to talk to Podolsky, and Podolsky's like, where's my son? He needs you let him go, basically.
Mhm.
And as he's walking over to his desk, Amy comes up and is like, hey, Peralta, when you're done, can you help me wrap up this massive cocaine bust? She's trying to brown nose to
Right.
Podolsky here. And yeah, so so
But I
then she
like
walks
that.
away.
But I like that he meets Podolsky because in a vacuum, the choice is, probably a lot. I don't want to say harder to make, but it's a lot clearer. Like if I do this, then this, like, so the ethics aren't quite there. But then once he
Mhm.
meets him and he's like, basically, I don't care what work you did. I don't care if it, he got busted. Let him go. Like
Right,
ignore the actual, like the right thing to do. And
right.
that's where the tide kind of changes with Jake. You can just
Yeah,
see him process that. And I thought that was a really good part of the show for his character, but also it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to do this thing because like there's weight behind it. And now it's like, oh, wait, no, you're not cool, man.
yeah. Podolsky's a bad cop,
Right.
and Jake doesn't want to be a bad cop.
He's not a bad cop. He's lazy. He's, or, he does, you know, all of the,
He does things differently.
yeah, but
He's
but he wants to put bad guys away. And this
right.
kid is a bad guy
Yeah,
or has broken the law. Anyway.
yeah. So yeah, and Podolsky's like, you just let him go. He's about to go to Duke. He's going to have a lacrosse scholarship, and which right there is like, oh, I hate this kid.
Yep.
Like, I remember the first time I
Mm,
saw a lacrosse team, it was a club team, and maybe that's bigger on the East Coast, but
yep.
it's not where we're from. And I was just like, we played lacrosse in like PE as a unit, right? It was field hockey unit,
Oh, right. Yeah.
lacrosse unit, square dancing
Badminton.
unit, like all these things that I don't care about. And I was like, oh, lacrosse could be a lot of fun, but where are you going to find enough people who want to run around with a net stick? And turns out a bald eagle just swooped right through my yard. Anyway, uh,
Are there any bald men out there?
no,
Okay.
wow, that was majestic.
They're safe.
Um, uh, but yeah, lacrosse is just, in my opinion, the richest kid sport that I can imagine.
Besides like polo.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I really consider polo a human sport. It seems more like a horse sport.
The horse sport.
Yeah, like the way NASCAR is a car sport.
Oh, okay.
Like NASCAR, sure, it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of focus, but the most of the work is happening with the car, right? The engine, the
Yeah,
power.
but that's like saying the basketball does most of the work for the basketball
No,
player.
no, the basketball cannot move on its own, but you put a brick on a pedal, it's going to go fast, right? You just
They
let a
do have
horse
robots.
go, the horse is going to go. A basketball is just
But
going to sit there.
it's not going to try to score goals, like hit it with it's like, it's not like air Seabiscuit out there trying to,
I mean, maybe we just haven't motivated him enough.
right. Or maybe we've been hovering. So like doing the
Yeah,
work for them for so long
yeah,
that they can't do it themselves.
exactly. Yeah. Horses are just like, man, before all these people started riding us, they didn't see all our sports that we were playing.
Get off me. Yeah. The reindeers got their games. We got ours. So
Yeah,
that's why I
what
say
are the
stop
reindeer games?
horsing around.
Yeah, see,
This
it's a
devolved.
horse sport. So yeah.
Well, and the whole Duke thing, because if you notice Jake's reaction, there was like some a scandal, a lacrosse scandal that you can look up for
Oh,
Duke.
right.
Yeah, and that's what this,
Forgot about
because of the
that.
time of the era. Basically, they're saying, yeah, this kid is terrible.
This
Like
kid is
that's
dirty. He's going
he
to
is
a
dirty
dirty
uh,
school for
to be a
Duke.
bad person.
Yeah.
So
So I didn't even put that together, but I do remember
yeah,
that Duke scandal. But it was about lacrosse. So I was instantly like, I don't really care about this.
wow.
So I don't even know what the scandal was. I do remember Duke, lacrosse, and those are not things that resonate with my life.
Yeah. Okay.
So, do you know what this scandal was about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a hazing thing?
No, let's
No.
just keep it
Oh,
light. Let's keep it light
yeah. It's
and
I'm
fun.
recalling things.
Sometimes boys just need to be boys.
That's what Podolsky says,
It is.
but it's not good.
No, because
So,
that was their literal defense.
oh, for real.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this got dark.
Yeah. Anyway,
This is like NYPD Blue, like straight from the headlines, like intense stuff.
thanks, Dick Wolf.
I mean, that name,
Speechless.
like
As long as he's not an
that
author.
name.
As long as he's not an author, right?
I don't want to see his author photo. Um, so that name is just too much. So Podolsky's like, hey, well, or Jake's like, all right, well, it's out of my hands. He's ordered to not arrest his kid.
Hmm.
And so he's like, will you at least read my report? I put a lot of work into it. And Podolsky's like, yeah, absolutely. And he walks away and just throws the report in the garbage.
Hmm.
So let's catch it back up with Charles for a minute because Charles is very sad. And one of the reasons why he's sad is because he was in the break room and he was uh, talking with Gina and Carlene. And Carlene says, I have a vision. If you get up out of that chair, you're going to hurt yourself. And so he can't. So he's rolling around everywhere in a chair. And you don't really notice it because so far after that scene, he was in the briefing room.
Hmm.
But then later, you see him rolling across the kitchen area, and Rosa is like, "Why are you in that chair?" And he's like, "Well, Carlene predicted if I get out, I'd get hurt really badly." And then Rosa just punches him, and like, "Why'd you do that?" To show you that you could still get hurt in the chair.
She proved her point with violence.
Yeah, like the psychic is just nothing. Like you are not. You make your own destiny. And so that's an important point here for Charles. Like
Hmm.
he's a character that often feels like he's just like a blown around by events. You know, he lives in his ex-wife's basement
Right.
with her and her now husband. Like he's not like an alpha in modern parlance. And so yeah, so Rosa is showing him like you make your own destiny. So stop listening to this dumb dumb. And so, yeah, so Charles is learning to not be that way. So Jake is then talking to Holt, and he's like, "Well, I don't have to worry Podolsky anymore. The case is officially out of my hands. No charges filed." And he hands the report over to Holt, and Holt's like, "Why is there yogurt on this?" He threw it in Terry's garbage can, and he had just eaten yogurt. Terry loves yogurt.
Harry loves yogurt.
And so Jake is wrestling with this. He's like, I called 6 precincts and they all had the same thing happen.
Mm.
And it's a frustrating. Um, and so, he's a lucky little jerk. And Holt's like, I wouldn't say he's lucky. This guy, his dad, doesn't love him enough to like learn him, teach him how to handle consequences. But Holt's like, yeah, but he's out of our problem. He's not our problem. Out of our hands. And so Jake's like, well, I see what you're trying to do, but it's not going to work. I'm not going to arrest him. I'm going to arrest him. And Holt's like, you want backup? And so they go and they arrest Podolsky's kid. And Podolsky's like, what are you doing? Get out of here. And Jake's like, I'm arresting, you're under arrest for destruction of property. And he's like, back off, Peralta. And Jake says, first off, my name's Santiago, Detective Amy Santiago. And so they arrest him, and Holt like stands up here. This is where he stands up. He's like, don't be stupid, Peralta. And Holt says, Commissioner, please don't talk to my detective that way. If you have a complaint, you can take it up with me.
Mhm.
And he's like, you're not the first to try to push me around. I've been an openly gay cop since 1987, and you're not the first superior officer to try to threaten me. And you know why I'm still here? Because I do my job and I do it right. And he walks back to his police car, and then Jake is like overwhelmed. And he's like, dang, son. And I was like, don't say son. So they arrest him. And Jake's like, let's go, fart man. Call back
Call
to
back.
Dr.
Banana
Fartman, Banana Fartman MD.
Banana Fartman MD.
Yeah. So then cut back and get into the credit scene. Charles is talking, and he's like, Carlene was wrong. Rosa said it herself. I'm in charge of my own destiny. Uh, that means she wants me to make a move. And Gina, they're talking, and Rosa comes through into the room, and Charles like dodges out of her way. I was like, yeah, she definitely wants you to make a move. Like, get out of the way. And she's like, well, you did get hurt because Rosa punched you, and the fact that Rosa punched you means she does not like you, which is really good, good
Yeah.
clear thing. Um, and so um, then they're gonna get into the briefing, and Holt's like, all right, let's get this meeting started. And we hear Jake unzipping a tent. He's like, I'm not late because he slept in the briefing room. And Holt's like, you're out of uniform, Peralta. And Jake's like, baby steps, Captain. Baby steps. So
Dun, 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 dun.
that's the episode.
That
That's
is
the
the
whole thing.
episode.
So yeah, it's a fun one. It's a fun one. Episode two uh of season one. I have not looked up anything on the show about like bloopers or trivia, and you seem to know a lot more about what actually happened in the world around this time than I am familiar with. So, anything else that
There,
stands out to you?
no, there wasn't a whole lot. Um, no, I mean, I guess the only thing was that I like that the whole thing with Holt is that yeah, he's teaching Jake these lessons, but he's also there for Jake. Like you said, like he has his back.
Hmm.
But he proved it by going down there and saying, it's not just your career on the line, it's mine too, because if we do things right, then nobody can hurt us, even if we
Right,
make them upset, you know. And so I think that's the real lesson by crossing your T's and dotting your I's, by doing everything right, you are above reproach. And I think, and I don't think he really understood that. And it's kind of like the sage, like, well, you have to make the choice first. If you do, I'm there for, you know, so he's not just going to do it for him, much like yeah. So it's that whole father dynamic, which we get into much more later on with Jake's own dad and things.
right.
So it's great.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And Jake
Mhm.
does make the right call. And so Holt's like, yeah, then let's go do it. I'll, you know, because Holt knew the whole time is like, you can't, you know, you can't hurt me. Like, you know, what are you going to do? Like,
Right.
I've been through so much already.
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to discipline me for arresting a criminal?
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
and the whole chain of command too. Like, don't talk to my detective like that. Like he's threatening, you know, because Podolsky was threatening Jake to not do something that he would need to take up with his commanding officer. So anyway, yeah, it was the whole thing. It was good. It was, so it's not, and that's the other thing about the show. It's not totally empty and vapid. Like there is stuff there that's a little bit deeper than just the jokes. So
Hmm.
one of
Yeah.
the reasons why. So that's why I think we like these sure shows, is because it's, you know, it's hilarious, the great characters, but there is a little bit of depth and humanity to them as well.
Right. Yeah. Well said, Jeremy.
Oh, hey,
Well
thanks.
said.
Yeah.
Listener, viewer, what do you think about this episode? Do you have thoughts? Are things we missed? Things that you thought, you should have spent more time on this, but we didn't, and we won't because the show's almost over.
Mm-hmm.
Like diversity tomorrow because today is almost over. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment on YouTube or send us an email, parksandconversation@gmail.com. You're like, why still Parks and Conversation? Just go with it. All right. I mean, there's got to be a limit of email addresses. Like we're going to run out soon.
Yeah, we don't want
So
them all.
I just want to make one note before we go. I'm looking at the IMDb page, and
Mm-hmm.
on the storyline, somebody wrote this. Anonymous wrote this. So the hacker group Anonymous wrote the storyline, and they have some tags under here. And the top tags are throwing a cell phone, unmarked police car, cocaine, drawing of penis, drug bust, and those are the most important things that IMDb wanted to elevate to our attention. So, but I do love how every time you saw a police, even at the end, as they're arresting Podolsky,
Right.
the police
Bright
car is
pink.
blurred out.
Right.
It's so good, just consistency throughout. I love it. So
Yeah. So next week is the slump.
the slump, yeah, Jake's
Backlog
having a
of,
hard time, right?
yeah, backlog of unsolved cases, and everyone thinks he's gonna like jinx them as well. So
Yeah, it's a good one.
all
It's a
right.
good one. All right, well, Jeremy, I'll let you go,
Yeah.
and we don't have
Watch
like a
out.
sign off.
That's all
on
right.
this.
Um, well, first, good luck with your Eagle situation.
Yeah, it's
And
gone.
oh, dude, how about over and out? Because
Okay,
it's kind of policey. Do they still? Is that what the police kids say these days?
these kids. What do the cool police say?
On
So,
the ground. Stop. Okay, no.
no, no.
Oh,
I
see
think we
ya.
should just say, well, I'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.